everybody, welcome back to another video, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Jasmine. I hope that you're all well. Today I wanted to film a video about having peace in the face of surgery, how to have peace when faced with difficult surgery and things like that, and how to pursue that peace. I myself have been through quite a lot of surgeries, so I'm going to be talking about that, the surgeries that I've been through, how I have pursued peace, the ways that I have pursued peace, my favourite scriptures for peace, and I just really want this video to just be an encouragement and a help to you if you are facing the same thing. So having to go for surgery and getting through recovery can be really daunting and quite scary experience. So in this video I wanted to include some helpful tips, encouragement and biblical truths on how you can have peace in that situation and how you can pursue it, and just to give you guys some encouragement on how I did that myself and how I got through the surgery and faced the surgery, my favourite scriptures, prayers and declarations that I use to gain peace. So throughout my life I've had to undergo many different operations and procedures for my heart, including 2 open heart surgeries. I had my first open heart surgery when I was 10 years old, because when I was born with a hole in my heart and diagnosed with congenital heart disease. So I had the surgery to repair that. And then when I was 18 years old, I had my second open heart surgery, which was to repair the mitral valve that was leaking within my heart. And then a couple of years after that, during the COVID lockdown, I became really unwell and my heart rate was going extremely tachycardic. And I suffered a really scary episode where my heart rate was reaching 250 beats per minute. So via ambulance, I was rushed straight into resus. And then after a few days of staying in hospital, after many different procedures and tests and medications to try and bring my heart rate down, I was fitted with a pacemaker. So I now have this permanent pacemaker, which helps to kind of keep my heart rate stable and not reach those really, really high levels. And then I'd say the most recent surgery I've just had was in 2023. So I had to go to London for this, and it was a keyhole procedure to try and repair another valve that was leaking within my heart, the tricuspid valve. So yeah, my tricuspid valve was severely leaking, so I went to go and have that done with a surgeon in London. Usually they would do that open heart surgery again, but because of the complications with my lupus, which I was later diagnosed with after the congenital heart disease and stuff, it would have just been, they told me it was too risky and I actually wouldn't survive the operation. And there was also no surgeons down here who were kind of willing to do it. So luckily they found a surgeon in London who could do it. So I travelled to London to have that done. Unfortunately, we found out after that this was unsuccessful. So now my valves, most of my valves in my heart are now severely leaking. So I've just undergone a procedure a couple of weeks ago to put cameras down and have a look at my heart valves. So now we're just awaiting news on the results from that. And they also have said there's some potential surgeons here who could maybe do a valve replacement. So yeah, we're just waiting on news for that at the moment. To go through these surgeries and deal with the complications with my heart and the symptoms and everything like that hasn't been easy. But through it all, I have well and truly and really felt God's peace around me through it all. And the way that I have got through these times is by holding on to the peace and pursuing that peace that comes from Jesus. And one thing that my mum always taught me to do when going down for surgery, just before I was being put to sleep and when I was going down for different procedures, is just to picture myself falling asleep in the arms of Jesus. So when they were putting the anaesthetic on and I was getting a little bit anxious, I would just picture myself falling into the lap or into the arms of Jesus, and that would give me so much peace, and that would really, really help me during that time. And that is one thing that I would encourage any of you to do if you're facing surgery, or if you have a family member that's about to face surgery. Just imagine yourself falling asleep into the arms of Jesus, who is holding you, who has got you, and is just pouring out his peace. And now I just want to share with you guys some key scriptures for peace that have really, really helped me, and I just want to encourage you in declaring these verses over yourself, or finding some verses that really help you and declaring and praying them over your situation. So I'm just going to share the ones that really helped me and that encouraged me and helped me gain a real sense of peace. Just share these 5 verses with you. The first one is Psalm 46:10, which says, "Be still and know that I am God." And this verse helped me so much. It just helped me to know that God was in complete control over my situation, that he was with me, and that all I needed to do was just to be still, trust, and just rest in his secure peace and arms. And from that, I would just have such peace, you know. In the times where I was a bit anxious and I was worried, I would just say, I'm going to be still and I'm going to trust, and I know that you are God. The next verse, which has just been a complete anchor, as I've said, in all of my whole journey and all that I have been through, is Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. This verse again just gives me such an amazing, tangible sense of peace and assurance, because even in those valleys and hard times, I know that he is with me and I don't walk through those valleys alone. You know, there have been times where I have been in that shadow of death, where I've nearly not made it, but there has been Jesus who has been with us through it all, and that just gives me such a sense of amazing peace. Another verse is Psalm 94:19, which says, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. And again, this verse helped me so much, because in those times where I was afraid, where I was anxious, where I was getting a little bit worried or overwhelmed, you know, it was God's sweet consolation of love that brought me peace and joy. You know, in those times where we're anxious and we're worried, he consoles us. He consoles us with his love, with his presence, and with his peace, and with his comfort. So I would encourage you just to declare this verse over yourself in those times where you're anxious over surgery, because it's completely normal to feel anxious when you're going for surgery. It's a scary thing, you know. So this is just a great verse to speak over yourself during those times. So the next verse, Philippians 4:6-7, which says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Again, this is just an amazing verse in those times of worries and anxieties, because it's telling us that in those times where we're anxious and we're worried, just to present those requests to God, to pray to him, to present those and cast those anxieties to him, and then his peace will come and guard our hearts and our minds. You know, that undeniable, unwavering peace that he brings will just guard us and will just be in us when we present those requests to him. You know, we don't have to worry or fear, because we have his peace guarding us. Or finally, Psalm 4, which says, in peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone make me dwell in safety. And this verse for me holds so much peace and so much comfort, because we can know that when we fall asleep, that he has got us, that he is holding us, that we can fall asleep peacefully and safely, because we know that we are held secure by him. You know, I think this is a great verse to declare, you know, or meditate upon in your mind when you're about to go down for surgery, or when you're just about to be put to sleep. You know, I relay this verse and recite this verse over myself every single night before I go to bed, that I will fall asleep peacefully, knowing that I'm restfully secure with God. And it just helps me to have so much peace and assurance, this verse. I just think it's beautiful. I just want to encourage you guys and talk about how you can pursue peace in every single situation, and the ways that I came up with that helped me to pursue peace. You know, but I think the most important way, and the crucial way, and the first way that we can pursue peace is by pursuing Jesus every single day, because he is the Prince of Peace. You know, C.S. Lewis once said, Jesus cannot give peace apart from himself. And to me, this just shows that peace isn't found anywhere else. Peace is just only found, true and real peace is found in Jesus. You know, it's not found in external circumstances. It's not found in the world. You know, the world can give and say that it has peace, but it's not a real peace like the peace that Jesus gives. So to pursue peace, we must pursue him every single. I'm going to share the 5 ways and tips that I would encourage you with to pursue peace. And number 1 is to share the gospel. In Ephesians it says, by fitting your feast with the gospel of peace. And this just shows that we have to be prepared and ready to share the good news of the gospel by putting it on. We must put on those shoes of peace, and we must share the peace that we carry with others. You know, people will see the peace that we carry, and they will want to know it. They will want to have that too, so we must be ready to share it. And when we share the gospel, when we share the good news, we also gain an inner peace and an inner joy. One is to worship. You know, worshiping gives me so much peace. I absolutely love being in worship, worshiping God, you know, because we must worship, you know, the Prince of Peace. We must worship Jesus for all that he has done for us and for giving us the peace that we have and that we need for every single situation. You know, he fills us with so much peace, and we must worship him and be thankful for that. And when we do worship, and when we are in that moment of worship, we just gain so much peace. It's a real peaceful moment for our soul and mind. Another one, number 3, I would say speak it over yourselves. You know, if we want peace, we must declare it and we must speak it out. We must speak that peace that we want and that we need for that situation over ourselves. So whenever we find ourselves in a difficult situation or we're facing something maybe like surgery, you know, we must speak the peace of Jesus over ourselves and say to ourselves, I speak Jesus and the peace of Jesus over this situation, and I declare that I will have peace through this situation. Let's also ask for it. You know, pray and ask Jesus, Jesus, I need your peace through this situation. Jesus, I pray that you will pour out your unwavering and undeniable and tangible peace over me in this situation. And he will give that to us when we speak it, when we declare it, and when we pray it. I think a really obvious and a really good one is to read his word. You know, peace is found in his word. Peace comes from his word, especially in the Psalms. There is so much peace that radiates and comes from the Psalms, and I think that's just such a beautiful book of the Bible to read. So every day, you know, read his word, read the Psalms, declare them over yourselves, meditate upon them. Pray them over yourselves, you know, write them on your wall, on your mirror, or wherever you will see them, and just start declaring, as I said, that peace over every situation. Read his word and seek him daily through his word. Finally, number 5 is to actively walk in peace. So Psalm 34:19 says, seek peace and pursue it. So each day we must actively walk in the fruit of the spirit of peace. We must put on peace, clothe ourselves with the peace of Jesus, clothe ourselves with Jesus, and just walk with a peaceful mind and a peaceful heart, trusting in God all the way through. And walk in peace by being gentle and humble. We can just pursue that fruit of the spirit by walking in peace every single day and putting on the garment of peace in every situation. Those are the ways that I pursue peace and the tips that I would give and encourage you with to pursue peace every day. But as I said, ultimately the best and the first and the most important way to pursue peace is to pursue Jesus, because he is the Prince of Peace. He is the one who holds all peace, who gives all peace, and is peace. And I really, really hope that this video has encouraged you in some way. I pray that it has helped you by sharing my story and sharing my ways and scriptures and prayers for peace. I'm also just going to share a really quick prayer with you that really helped me, and that I spoke over myself and prayed over myself just before surgery, and one that my mum also prayed with me, because I just think it's such an encouraging prayer. So I will share that with you. That is the end of the video. I thank you so much for joining on and watching, and I just pray that it really has encouraged and helped you in some way. I would love to know down below in the comments what your favourite verses are for peace, what ones you would use, and what your favourites are. And any way that I can pray with you and support you in prayer, because I love to pray with you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Always know that Jesus is with you and that he loves you, and I'll see you on the next video.